The Royal Rumble has always been known for surprises, for unexpected returns, for moments that change the trajectory of professional wrestling for months and even years to come. It's the one event where anything can happen, where legends can return, where new stars can be made, and where the impossible becomes reality in the span of a single night. But what happened at Royal Rumble 2026 transcended even the elevated expectations that come with WWE's most unpredictable premium live event. What unfolded was something nobody saw coming. Something so shocking that it sent shockwaves not just through the wrestling world but through the entire sports entertainment landscape. The night had been electric from the opening bell. The crowd was hot, invested in every match, reacting to every near fall and dramatic moment with the kind of passionate energy that only a Royal Rumble audience can provide. Superstars from Raw and SmackDown had been delivering performances that would be talked about for years. The Women's Royal Rumble match had already provided several memorable moments and surprise entrants. The atmosphere in the arena was charged with anticipation and excitement, with every fan knowing that at any moment, something incredible could happen. Then came the attack on Bron Breakker. The young powerhouse had been having the night of his career up to that point, dominating his opponents with the kind of raw strength and athletic ability that had made him one of the most talked-about rising stars in all of WWE. Breakker represented the future of the company, a second-generation wrestler with all the tools necessary to become a multi-time world champion and the face of WWE for the next decade. His combination of power, speed, and natural charisma made him seem almost unstoppable, a freight train barreling toward main event status with nothing capable of slowing him down. Breakker had just finished a hard-fought victory, standing in the ring celebrating with the crowd, his music playing, sweat dripping from his face, the adrenaline of competition still coursing through his veins. The cameras captured every moment, every gesture to the crowd, every flex of his impressive physique. This was Bron Breakker in his element, a young lion roaring to announce his arrival at the top of the mountain. The announcers were putting him over strong, talking about his incredible performance and speculating about what might be next for this rapidly ascending superstar. Then the lights went out. Complete and total darkness engulfed the arena, the kind of blackout that immediately signals something significant is about to occur. The crowd's reaction shifted instantly from celebration to anticipation, thousands of voices rising in a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. These moments of darkness at WWE events have become synonymous with debuts, returns, and shocking twists. Every fan in attendance and watching at home leaned forward, wondering what was about to happen, who was about to appear, what twist was about to unfold. When the lights came back on mere seconds later, the scene in the ring had transformed into chaos. Bron Breakker was down, writhing in pain on the canvas, clutching his midsection and gasping for air. Standing over him was a figure dressed entirely in black, face completely obscured by a mask that revealed nothing about their identity. The attacker's body language radiated menace and purpose as they surveyed their handiwork, looking down at the fallen Breakker with what seemed like satisfaction despite the obscured features. The crowd erupted in confusion and shock. Security personnel rushed toward the ring from all directions, but the masked figure moved with remarkable speed and agility, sliding out of the ring and disappearing into the crowd before anyone could reach them. The cameras tried to follow, operators scrambling to track the attacker's escape route, but the figure moved through the sea of fans with practiced efficiency, clearly having planned their exit strategy as carefully as they had planned the attack itself. Medical personnel swarmed into the ring to attend to Bron Breakker, who was clearly in genuine distress. His face showed real pain. His body movements suggested he had taken a significant blow, and the concern on the faces of the doctors and trainers surrounding him added legitimacy to the severity of the situation. This wasn't a routine attack that would be shaken off quickly. Whatever the masked figure had done to Breakker had done real damage, had taken one of WWE's brightest young stars and laid him out in the middle of the ring at the company's second biggest event of the year. The Royal Rumble continued, but the attack on Breakker remained the dominant story of the night. Backstage interviews showed wrestlers reacting with shock and concern. Some expressed sympathy for Breakker and condemned the cowardly nature of the masked attack. Others seemed almost pleased, suggesting that Breakker's rapid rise had made him enemies, that perhaps this was inevitable given how quickly he had climbed the ranks. A few claimed to have information about the attacker's identity but refused to share it on camera, adding layers of intrigue to an already mysterious situation. Social media exploded with speculation. Wrestling fans became amateur detectives, analyzing every frame of footage available, looking for clues about the attacker's identity. People examined the figure's body type, their movement patterns, trying to match them to known wrestlers. Theories ranged from the plausible to the absurd, with names being thrown out from throughout WWE's roster and even from outside the company. The mystery consumed the wrestling community, with everyone convinced they could solve the puzzle if they just looked closely enough at the right details. Throughout the remainder of the Royal Rumble event, updates on Breakker's condition were sporadically provided. He was being evaluated by medical staff. He was conscious but showing signs of injury. He was demanding to know who attacked him. Each update kept the story alive, kept fans invested not just in the Rumble matches themselves, but in the ongoing mystery of the masked attacker's identity and motivation. The men's Royal Rumble match itself was spectacular, filled with surprise entrants, memorable eliminations, and the kind of storytelling that only the Rumble match can provide. But even as superstars battled for the right to main event WrestleMania, even as the final few competitors fought desperately to be the last one standing, a portion of every fan's attention remained focused on the earlier attack. Who was behind the mask? Why had they targeted Bron Breakker specifically? And what did this mean for the future of WWE's main event scene? As the Royal Rumble concluded and the event came to an end, the mystery remained unsolved. The masked attacker had not revealed themselves, had not been caught or identified despite extensive security footage review and investigation. WWE's social media channels capitalized on the intrigue, posting clips of the attack and asking fans for their theories about the attacker's identity. The speculation and discussion continued long after the event ended, with wrestling podcasts, YouTube channels, and news sites all offering their analysis and predictions. The following night, on Monday Night Raw, the attack was naturally the first topic addressed. The show opened with footage of what had happened to Bron Breakker at the Royal Rumble. Multiple angles showing the lights going out, the attack occurring, and the masked figure escaping through the crowd. The announcers emphasized the severity of the assault and the mystery surrounding the attacker's identity, promising that answers would be forthcoming as the investigation continued. Bron Breakker appeared on the show despite his injuries, his torso wrapped in protective bandaging, his face showing the determination and anger of someone who had been wronged and was demanding justice. He cut an impassioned promo about the cowardice of attacking someone from behind, hidden behind a mask, using darkness as cover. Breakker made it clear that once he discovered who was responsible, there would be hell to pay. The young powerhouse radiated intensity and conviction, making it clear that this wasn't just another storyline to him but something personal, something that demanded resolution and retribution. Throughout the Raw broadcast, cryptic videos began appearing. Short, unsettling clips that showed the masked figure in various locations, always obscured, always mysterious, but clearly taunting Breakker and the entire WWE universe. These videos provided no clear answers but added atmosphere and tension to the ongoing mystery. The production quality was high, the tone was dark and menacing, and the message was clear. This was far from over. Then, in a segment later in the show, Bron Breakker was backstage, still searching for answers, still demanding to know who had attacked him. He confronted various wrestlers, asking if they knew anything, if they had information they weren't sharing. The tension in these confrontations was palpable, with Breakker's frustration growing with each dead end, each non-answer, each person who claimed ignorance about the masked attacker's identity. Breakker was walking through a dimly lit corridor backstage when the arena lights flickered. The crowd in the arena immediately reacted, sensing that something was about to happen. The cameras followed Breakker as he stopped walking, his body language shifting to high alert, his eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of threat. The atmosphere was thick with tension, with the sense that violence could erupt at any moment. Then, from the shadows, the masked figure emerged. But this time, they weren't running. They weren't hiding. They stood in front of Breakker, blocking his path, their presence radiating challenge and menace. Breakker immediately moved into a fighting stance, his fists raised, ready to finally confront his attacker face to face. The two figures stood there for a long moment, the tension building, the entire arena on the edge of their seats waiting to see what would happen next. The masked figure reached up slowly, deliberately, their hands moving to the edges of the mask. The crowd noise reached a fever pitch, everyone realizing that the big reveal was finally about to happen. Bron Breakker stood ready, muscles tensed, prepared for whoever might be behind that mask. The cameras zoomed in tight, ensuring that every detail would be captured, that this moment would be preserved from every possible angle. The mask came off, and the collective gasp from the crowd was deafening. Standing before Bron Breakker, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth, his eyes blazing with intensity and purpose, was Jon Moxley. The man formerly known as Dean Ambrose in WWE, the wrestling rebel who had left the company years ago to conquer the independent scene and help build a rival promotion, had returned to WWE in the most shocking and impactful way imaginable. Jon Moxley. The name sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. This wasn't just any returning star. This was someone who had publicly criticized WWE, who had seemed to burn bridges on his way out, who had become the face of alternative wrestling and spoken extensively about why he preferred working outside the WWE system. His return was something many fans had hoped for but few actually believed would happen. The idea that WWE and Moxley could reconcile their differences seemed almost impossible, which made this moment all the more stunning and significant. The camera caught every micro-expression on both men's faces. Breakker's shock and confusion as he processed who was standing before him. Moxley's calm confidence. The look of someone who had planned everything perfectly and was now watching his plan come to fruition. The two men stood there for a moment, the tension crackling between them like electricity, before Moxley finally spoke. His voice was rough, gravelly, carrying that distinctive tone that had helped make him one of the most compelling promo guys in the business. Moxley didn't launch into a long explanation immediately. Instead, he started by acknowledging the elephant in the room. Yes, he was back in WWE. Yes, he was the one who had attacked Bron Breakker at the Royal Rumble. And yes, there was a very specific reason for everything he had done. Moxley explained that he had been watching WWE from afar, observing how the company had evolved in his absence, seeing new stars rise and establish themselves as the future of the industry. And in watching Bron Breakker's meteoric rise, Moxley had seen something that both impressed and concerned him. Breakker had all the physical tools, all the natural ability, all the potential to become a legendary performer. But he was being built up too fast, elevated too quickly, praised too much without being properly tested against the kind of competition that forges true greatness. The speech was masterful, walking the line between compliment and insult, acknowledging Breakker's talents while simultaneously questioning whether he had truly earned his position. Moxley positioned himself not as a jealous veteran trying to hold back a rising star but as a necessary force of nature, someone who existed to test and challenge, to separate the truly great from the merely good, to ensure that anyone who reached the top of WWE was genuinely worthy of that position. Moxley talked about his own journey, the years of grinding in independent promotions, the countless injuries and sacrifices, the times he was told he would never make it, the obstacles he had to overcome to reach the top of the industry. He contrasted that with Breakker's path, noting that being a second-generation wrestler came with advantages that others didn't have, that doors opened more easily when you had the right last name. This wasn't about denying Breakker's talent, Moxley insisted, but about ensuring that talent was properly tempered through genuine adversity. The crowd was completely captivated, hanging on every word. Moxley's promos have always been compelling because they feel authentic and unscripted, like someone speaking their truth rather than reciting memorized lines. Even in this corporate WWE environment, he managed to maintain that edge, that sense of danger and unpredictability that had always defined his character. Bron Breakker finally responded, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. He didn't care about Moxley's justifications or his philosophical arguments about testing and adversity. All Breakker knew was that Moxley had attacked him from behind, hidden behind a mask like a coward, and denied him the opportunity to defend himself. If Moxley wanted to test him, wanted to see if he was truly worthy, then they should settle it the right way, face to face in a match where both men knew what they were getting into. Moxley's smile widened. That was exactly what he wanted to hear. He hadn't come back to WWE just to attack Breakker once and disappear. He had come back to wage war, to push Breakker beyond his limits, to either forge him into something greater or break him completely. The challenge was issued and immediately accepted, the match seemingly inevitable, but Moxley made it clear that when they finally stepped into the ring together, it wouldn't be a regular match. It would be violent, brutal, the kind of fight that would test every aspect of Breakker's character and ability. The two men stood face to face, neither backing down, the tension between them so thick you could cut it with a knife. Security personnel and other wrestlers began appearing from various directions, clearly concerned that this confrontation was about to explode into violence right there in the backstage area. But both Moxley and Breakker held their ground without throwing punches, each making it clear through body language and intensity that when they did fight, it would be on their terms, in the ring with the whole world watching. As the segment ended and Raw went to commercial, the wrestling world was in absolute chaos. Social media was melting down with reactions to Moxley's shocking return and reveal as the masked attacker. Wrestling journalists were scrambling to get statements from WWE officials, trying to understand how this return had been negotiated and kept secret. Fans were already fantasy booking potential matches and storylines, imagining the dream scenarios that Moxley's presence in WWE opened up. The genius of using Jon Moxley as the masked attacker became more apparent as people had time to process the reveal. His return needed to be impactful, needed to immediately establish him as a major player rather than just another nostalgic return. By having him attack one of WWE's hottest rising stars at the Royal Rumble, by keeping his identity hidden to build suspense, and then by delivering a promo that perfectly explained his motivations, WWE had crafted a storyline that felt fresh and compelling rather than like a simple rehash of his previous WWE run. For Bron Breakker, being the target of Moxley's return was actually a massive endorsement. WWE could have chosen anyone for Moxley to attack, any established star or up-and-comer. The fact that they chose Breakker sent a clear message that the company viewed him as someone worth building around, someone who could carry a major program with a returning star of Moxley's caliber. This feud, if done correctly, could be the making of Breakker as a true main event player. The storytelling possibilities moving forward were endless. Would this be a straightforward rivalry with Breakker seeking revenge for the cowardly attack? Or would it evolve into something more complex, with Moxley's testing of Breakker taking various forms over several months? Would other wrestlers get involved, either supporting Breakker against the returning Moxley or joining Moxley in his mission to test and challenge WWE's current roster? The framework was established, but the details could be filled in countless different ways. From a business perspective, Moxley's return also made perfect sense for both parties. For WWE, bringing back a star of Moxley's caliber and popularity added credibility and star power to their roster. His presence would likely boost television ratings, social media engagement, and potentially even ticket sales for live events. For Moxley himself, returning to WWE at this stage of his career offered financial security, a larger platform, and the chance to work with a new generation of talent in high-profile matches and storylines. The wrestling media spent the following days dissecting every aspect of the situation. Articles analyzed how WWE had managed to keep Moxley's return secret in an age where spoilers and leaks are common. Interviews with wrestlers and industry insiders provided behind-the-scenes context about the negotiations that brought Moxley back. Comparison pieces examined how this return compared to other shocking WWE comebacks throughout history. Fan reaction was overwhelmingly positive, with even the most cynical wrestling fans acknowledging that WWE had executed the return perfectly. The mystery of the masked attacker had been genuinely intriguing, the reveal had been shocking and satisfying, and the immediate establishment of a compelling rivalry with Bron Breakker gave Moxley something meaningful to do rather than just appearing for nostalgia's sake. Looking ahead to their eventual match, the anticipation was already building to fever pitch. Jon Moxley and Bron Breakker represented different eras and styles of wrestling, making their clash inherently interesting from a purely in-ring perspective.